Hello to everybody. We ring this bell 3 times. The first is to call us back into the covenant. We are on the unceded land of the MPUUC tribe of the Ohlone people. They were displaced, colonized, their land taken. Now they seek to regain their land as well as pass on their heritage, customs, and culture to their descendants. Everything we do to restore their rights, equality, and sovereignty is working our way back into covenant. The second calls us into relationship with ourselves and one another, to recognize broken promises, unhealed hurt, lingering scars where being right was more important than being whole. We intentionally gather to invite an ever-widening circle of compassion, commitment, and solidarity until we are all beloved to one another. And the third calls us into relationship with our children and our children's children, out to the 7th generation, helping us to realize that what we do now, or fail to do, will be felt by those who come after us.
Welcome and good morning. Thank you. I'm Paul K. Davis, your worship associate this morning. Mark Rahman is our worship leader. Drew Wilson is our board representative. Our music is being presented by Joanne Schreiner, Nudie Van Hoven, and Sharon Davis. And running all the equipment, to the extent that the equipment is willing to run, is Eric Alm over there. Bad things have always been happening to people. People have always wished to place blame for bad things. Usually they preferred to blame someone else. 3,300 years ago, the Hittite emperor had warred with Egypt. His soldiers brought plague home. He died of plague, then his oldest son did. A younger son, Mursili, became emperor and prayed to the gods to end the plague. He wrote on a clay tablet in cuneiform, "It so happens that the father's sin comes upon his son, and so the sins of my father come upon me too." More serious than blaming a problem on your ancestors is blaming it on an ethnic group. Egyptian inscriptions of the next few centuries make reference to, quote, vile Asiatics, unquote, presumably including the Hittites with whom they warred. The Greeks, in turn, called all non-Greeks, quote, barbarians, unquote. Their historian Herodotus, in explaining the origin of war between Greece and Persia, traces it back to Gyges of Lydia, who killed King Candaules to become king himself. This sin was visited by the gods on his great-great-grandson Croesus, who foolishly attacked Persia and lost his kingdom to them. The Persians then continued their conquests beyond Lydia to the Greek cities around the Aegean. Inherited guilt and group guilt are still powerful concepts. It is the basis of the concept of being born into slavery. How else could a baby deserve to be a slave? And the economic system would collapse if they were not enslaved. These attitudes did not end in the United States with the defeat of the South in the Civil War. An acquaintance of mine once explained to me that African American slaves had been enslaved by their own people. Americans simply bought them. There are so many things wrong with this excuse that I hesitate to list them. They would not have been captured and enslaved if there were no market for them. The fact that someone else originated an injustice does not exonerate those who continue it and benefit from it. This does not explain why their children of slaves should be enslaved. And most of all, what does their own people mean? This can only be an example of collective racial guilt, excusing another collective racial guilt. I say it is not races that are guilty, but people. Also, I acknowledge that descendants often must deal with problems created by ancestors, but this is not a matter of guilt or blame. We are simply all responsible for solving or alleviating such problems as we can, and leaving as few problems for future generations as we have the wisdom to foresee. I'm looking forward to our worship leader, Mark Rahman, further elucidating this issue and offering ideas for dealing with it. Come, let us learn together. And now, please join me. I hope it takes him a minute to put up the words. Yes, the words are up there. Please join me in reciting these words. The foundation of Mission Peak is love. We are a spiritual community of open minds, nurturing growth and healing in all selves and all people. Together, we strive to live compassionately and courageously as we work for a nonviolent, just, and sustainable world.
Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning. And welcome. Thank you for coming and attending Mission Peak. Instead of going out to Montera to sit in the beach in this lovely day. Thank you. Shauna thanks you too. My name is Drew Wilson. My pronouns are he and him, and I'm a member of the board. We are so glad you joined us this morning. I'm going to start by highlighting many current announcements. Things are happening around here. Fremont Pride Festival at Fremont's Alameda County Library is Saturday, June 13th, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. We'll have a booth there. Please help us, woman or man or non-binary, our MPUUC table, while we share with the community that we are all welcome that we welcome all at Mission Peak Unitarian. Universalist. So Star King UU in Hayward is hosting an online game night on Saturday, May 30th. In the evening. See the listing in this coming week on the Peak for more info. And also, this coming Saturday evening, which I guess is May 30th, MPUUC is hosting one of our Parent Night Out events. Members and friends are welcome to bring their children here for a fun night of loving care while parents get some well-deserved time off. See the week on the Peak for how to RSVP. General Assembly delegates are needed. GA is June 14th to the 20th. The business meetings are on June 14th to the 16th, where delegates vote on the business of the UUA. We are entitled to 2 such delegates. If anyone at MPUUC is attending GA and is willing to serve as our delegate, please see any member of the board or email board@mpuuc.org. anxiously await, operators are anxiously standing by. Please look in the week on the Peak for the link to all the candidate forums from the League of Women Voters. So there will be a link there, and you can follow that, and you can find out all kinds of information to hopefully help you make up your mind for June 2nd's primary. And for some of us, June 16th special election, too. And finally, Beth Schaefer has a special announcement.
Thanks for letting me jump in for just a minute. I have good, exciting news to share. There will be a party for Reverend Greg to wish him well and send him off to retirement on Saturday, June 27th. So this is just a save the date notice. Saturday night, June 27th, 5:30 to 8:30 right here. And you'll get more information coming up in the week on the Peak, and you'll also get an email with details coming up soon. But save the date, the 28th. Thank you. So it's 27th, the 27th. Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, that is a very exciting announcement. Unitarian Universalism is a radically inclusive, non-doctrinal, non-dogmatic, open-minded, and open-hearted faith. We are people who are all coming at truth from different paths. We gather together across different identities, experiences, and beliefs to affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Together we see our job as to love the hate out of the world, heal the hurt in ourselves and one another, and to be the change we'd like to see in the world. If you are our guest for the first time, we welcome you. Here's a bit of information on how our hybrid systems services work. We use chat and Zoom or book near the welcome table to share joys and concerns. Personal milestones of importance which will be read aloud in the service. We also have social hour after the service where we get to visit with one another in breakout rooms or on the patio. The worship host will give you more information about this. Those of you who are online will give you more information about this immediately after the service. And for those of you online, John Schaefer over there will put a link in the chat to our weekly newsletters so you can see what else is happening. And we also put our welcome and email welcome@mpuuc.org. Oh, you can use that welcome@mpuuc.org to request a newsletter or other information be sent to you. If you're here in person, our welcome table is right next to the main entrance, again with the smiling John Schaefer. Yeah, you can sign. Yes. He's filling out something in the Joys and Concerns book. All righty. Be sent to you. If you're here anyways, okay. Finally, please make sure your mobile devices are silenced. We are so glad to be together today. And let's end by asking everyone in Zoomlandia and everyone in Cole Hall to wave to one another and feel the joy of being one large, beloved community. Welcome and thank you to our members and friends near and far.
All, as you are willing and capable and desire to do so, to stand as we do our welcoming hymn, All People That on Earth Do Dwell.
All people
go.
Starts with us.
Take one.
Curiosity.
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 Do you know what it means to be curious?
Oh, curious, I know that word.
Okay.
Curious means when you want to know about everything in this world, for example, how does a whale sleep?
I do think it makes you smarter.
I think being curious is a good thing because you can learn new things by asking questions.
You can learn from the person you're asking, and they can learn from what they're saying.
When I want to be someone's friend, I ask them a lot of questions.
What their name is, how are they doing,
What's your favorite color? What's your favorite place to go? And what's your favorite book?
what's their favorite subject in school.
Do you like dresses or pants or shirts?
I feel like being curious is kind of like investigating.
Being curious led me to something new that I never done before.
You learn about new things in the world, and you learn about what you can do and how you can do it.
Sometimes we don't know that assumption could be true or false.
It's important to figure out what's true and what's not, like exactly what happened, because a lot of it could be just crazy, and a lot of it could be like actually true, and then everyone ends up being like, what is true and what's not.
I think it's okay to be curious. I mean, I get curious sometimes.
Asking questions and being curious is a smart thing to do because
It will help you understand their point of view.
My curiosity led me to something new.
being curious is about asking questions and also is about listening.
Just talk to them. You just have to listen to the other person to see what he has to say before you speak up and be mean.
It's a good thing because you can get smarter and smarter and smarter and smarter and smarter and smarter and smarter. I love being curious. Make it a habit to listen.
Make it a habit to ask questions, to understand where the other person is coming from.
Don't get serious. Get curious.
Get curious.
We take up a collection on Sundays for the reason that our purpose in gathering is for more than ourselves. We want to make sure that the ministries that we need, the ones that infuse worth and dignity into our children, our youth, our programs of learning and leadership, and our ministries of anti-oppression and our work in the larger world are in place to meet the needs of others. We hope you will make a contribution toward these worthy causes by mailing your check to Mission MPUUC congregation at the address on the screen. You can also use the bill pay option in your online banking, or drop your check in the Mission Peak mail slot, or pay online with a credit or debit card. Or as one of my friends in introducing theater shows say, stuff wads of cash through the mail slot. Whatever way works. Thank you for supporting and sustaining the efforts of our members. Friends and staff, your contributions make loving learning and leadership more possible.
One of the things that allows us to find hope and meaning, especially in the hard times, is the love and support we show one another. If you have a joy or concern that by sharing with this community might bring the encouragement or resilience you are needing, please write it briefly now in the chat. Also, please write your name and whether your sharing is a joy or concern. If you are here in person, you can use the book by the welcome table over there. Please write clearly. My eyes are old. And would like to, if you would like to place a stone for a joy or a concern, you may do so while the music plays and the music of reflection. If your need is personal, you can also send an email to our minister for a follow-up conversation or contact Reverend Barbara, who is our community minister. Thank you.
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us, above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no more trees. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for. Unknown religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say that I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. A brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say that I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one.
These are one last zone. For the hopes and hurts still too tender to escape our heart, we encourage everyone to contact those who have shared joys or concerns. In this way, we take part in the creation of caring community by keeping our hearts, our minds, our arms, and our doors open. Thank you. Once upon a time, long, long ago, even before I was born, even before Chris Schreiner was born, in 1851 in Akron, Ohio, there was a women's rights convention. at this convention was a lady named Sojourner Truth, one of the great Americans of all time.
Remember, you need to speak up.
That means I have to step back from the mic. Okay. Sojourner Truth, great American, made a speech, one of the most famous of all, called Ain't I a Woman? Well, children, where there is so much racket, there must be something out of kilter. I think that twixt the Negroes of the South and the women of the North, all talking about rights, the white men will be in a fix pretty soon. But what's all this here talking about? That man over there says that women need to be helped into carriages and lifted over ditches and to have the best place everywhere. Nobody ever helps me into carriages or over mud puddles or gives me any best place. And ain't I a woman? Look at me, look at my arm. I have plowed and planted and gathered into barns, and no man could head me. And ain't I a woman? I could work as much and eat as much as a man when I could get it, and I bear the lash as well. And ain't I a woman? I have borne 13 children and seen most all sold off to slavery. And when I cried out with my mother's grief, none but Jesus heard me. And ain't I a woman? Then they talk about this thing in the head. What's this that they call it? A member of the audience whispers, intellect. Well, that's it, honey. What's that got to do with women's rights or Negroes' rights? If my cup won't hold but a pint and yours holds a quart, wouldn't you be mean not to let me have my little half measure full? Then that little man in black there, he says, women can't have as much rights as men because Christ wasn't a woman. Where did your Christ come from? Where did your Christ come from? From God and a woman. Man had nothing to do with him. If the first woman God ever made was strong enough to turn the world upside down all alone, these women together ought to be able to turn it back and get it right side up again. And now they is asking to do it, the men better let them. Obliged to you for hearing me, and now old Sojourner ain't got nothing more. Amen. Aren't we all of one another? Here we are called to see all as human, even if the gremlins in our head have other ideas. And now a lovely melody on a hard subject from Joanne, Sharon, and Newty.
You've got to be taught to hate and fear. You've got to be taught from year to year. It's got to be drummed in your dear little ear. You've got to be carefully taught. You've got to be taught to be afraid of people whose eyes are oddly made, and people whose skin is a different shade. You've got to be carefully taught. You've got to be taught before it's too late, before you are 6 or 7 or 8, to hate all the people your relatives hate, to be carefully taught. You've got to be carefully, 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 carefully taught. Thank you.
Worth the price of admission, even if you have to listen to me for the next 20 minutes. Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the first UUIBLS. the Unitarian Universalist incredibly boring lecture series. Today, in the interest of efficiency, we will be starting with the pop quiz and hold the lecture afterwards. Now then, what people immediately comes to mind when I say the phrase, cheese-eating monkeys, surrender monkeys? Cheese-eating surrender monkeys.
Cheese-eating surrender monkeys? Could that be the French?
Ah, thank you for participating. It is interesting how one pejorative phrase can instantly identify a group. Even more interesting is how that phrase can include everyone in the group. Even those who are too young to have been able to participate at all in public life, or those who are allergic to cheese. This is a phenomenon that I call collective guilt. For as long as we have history, we know that one people will decide that others have something wrong and inferior about them. Now, also old is the concept of magic. There is a magical element to collective guilt. That is the mechanism by which every one of the groups we are looking at is included in the guilt. Young and old, every variation possible, whether they were present or absent to the alleged sin. The inheritance of the curse is perpetual. It does not dilute. It is considered to be the very essence or nature of that group, at least by the group that regards them as inferior and intrinsically subordinate. The image on the front of the order of service is one of the cities supposedly destroyed by the Israelites on orders from God. The people in those cities had the unfortunate condition of living on land now given to another. They were out and therefore expendable. Now, magic was real and obvious to the people of Mesopotamia and the Bible. We no longer consider it real, yet many hold on to the results of magical thinking just as real. Consider the case of Ham and Canaan, sons of Noah, in the story of after the flood. In the current version, the curse was placed upon Canaan, the son of Ham. It was to explain just why the Canaanites were supposed to be conquered and subordinated to the Israelites. The Canaanites were the inheritors of the curse Noah placed on Canaan. There is a difficulty here in that Canaan had not done anything wrong to justify the curse. The original curse was upon Ham, his father. And in the list of nations that arose from the progeny of Noah, the descendants of Ham populated Africa. In a more modern era, that curse of the sin of Ham justified the enslavement of Africans. It had biblical justification for enslavement because they were all tainted by the original act of Ham, magically. Going even farther back in history, according to the Bible, there is original sin. Nominally, this is a collective guilt that applies to everyone, man, woman, and child. But digging a little deeper, we see the original sin is used in order to maintain a hierarchy into the present day. There are still those who use the supposed sin of Eve, of desiring knowledge, to justify the subordination of women. All women carry the collective guilt of a long ago act. The idea that it is intrinsic to the nature of woman to not be responsible has been used to justify no vote, no credit, no right to ownership, and frequently the loss of all property should she marry. Collective guilt is intrinsic to maintaining the cultural order. In group or out group, us versus them are the traditional ways of describing this social dynamic. The usual explanation is a noble us versus who is under siege or attacked by a terrible them. The origin of dividing the world into us and them is very old, old indeed. It is older than history. It is common to many of our social primate cousins. Deciding who is an in with me and who is not can take place in milliseconds. We can take in cues from someone we met incredibly quickly. The results of conclusions reached by specialized portions of the brain arrive faster than we can even consciously think about what we are doing. That we will make distinctions is built in. Who we make distinctions about is a product of social, cultural, and historical development, and does get taught. I urge you to look into the work of Dr. Robert Sapolsky, expert on anything and everything neurologic, for more on the mechanisms. That the division does not depend upon reality is shown by how Native Americans in the 18th century were seen on either side of the Atlantic. In Europe, in the period of the Enlightenment, under the influence of Rousseau, Native Americans were considered to be noble savages, uncorrupted by the evils of civilization. The civilization dominated by autocrats and monarchy of his day. In the United States, at the same time, natives were not seen as living in constant, pure harmony with nature, but as violent savages at odds with and dangerous to any civilized being. Neither myth has any validity with regard to the many cultures of the New World. Each version serves a purpose for who is creating the myth, having nothing to do with learning about each other. We use various identity markers to separate ins from outs. The markers may at any given time appear fixed, but in and out are moving targets. Who is white has changed a great deal from the early days of our colonies. The English, also described as Anglo-Saxons, still to this day, were the only white people at the very beginning. Germans were regarded as plodding peasant stock, not too bright. But in time, they too became white. And in their turn, the Irish, the Italians, the Slavs, and other Europeans joined the white club. What remains is a definite hierarchy with many internal distinctions. Defining us and them is a reflexive process. When we list the identity markers of the other, we are simultaneously defining ourselves with the inverse of those markers. Nearly universally, the in-group will have positive parameters, and the out-group will have negative and pejorative markers. There are some groups that never seem to have the opportunity to become fully white, members of the club. One can be white, but not entirely so. If you are white but female, if you are white but LGBTQ+, if you are white but of the wrong religion, if you are white but poor, or if you are white and mentally ill, then you are not as white as some others. It is fairly standard to perform multiple assessments of how close to being in relative to oneself another person is. When we identify someone as the other, we are making multiple assessments of multiple types. We are looking at whether someone is a threat, or what their relative status is to us, or whether they can be useful to us. The speed with which we do this is greatly aided by the knowledge of the many kinds of collective guilt we have assigned to the many kinds of people we meet. Judgment. Judgment can be made very quickly in the amygdala hypothalamus region of the brain. Judgment does not require reason. Judgment only requires emotional justification. Emotional justification is greatly aided by confirmation bias. We turn suppositions into evidence. Confirmation bias is greatly aided by active efforts to create the appearance of evidence to support our judgment. In Europe in the 19th century, no one tried harder in France to assimilate than the Jews. That effort was never sufficient for the dominant culture. When the Dreyfus affair happened, the public turned against Captain Dreyfus. In early 20th century Germany, Jews again made every effort to be the best Germans possible, and again were not permitted to be considered assimilated. How can you pull yourself up by your bootstraps if every bootstrap in the country is kept from you? Whenever one who is able to get ahead in spite of restrictions, they are burned out, it is a way of removal and warning to others. And I can bring lessons from my work in the mental health field. I found how easy it was to other someone. All it took was for someone to change how they appeared to someone else. Then irritation, resentment, or fear took over. Somebody who was somebody all of a sudden becomes the other nobody. No longer the person they were, but now a thing that was going to be violent and do many unexpected things. Stereotypes exist in our head and will come readily into existence when wanted, when triggered. We project all sorts of possibilities onto another and condemn them for what they might do in our heads. The first goal of someone who is going to other someone is to disempower them. To make powerless a person is to visit upon them one of the worst punishments possible. It would be nice if it were possible to say, I shall no longer allow myself to be governed by thoughts of which I am unaware. Unfortunately, we are all subject to controls from parts of the brain that work in the dark. The dim recesses of our past, from our earliest times when we picked up ideas from others that were then put away somewhere where we don't see them. And they have not gone away, and they are not changed by what we have learned and how we choose to be. Such ideas are with us always. We cannot move past their existence. We cannot expect that our rational minds will be able to keep them from affecting how we feel. It is not feasible to be able to tell what causes a vague lack of comfort. We must inspect the feeling and inquire of it from whence they came. Search out within you what has led to this feeling. If it comes from interacting with someone you just met, allow your brain to be judgmental for the moment. What it comes up with is likely to be something that your deep brain has arrived at without any evidence. Acknowledging that this is within you, be vulnerable to the idea that you are not perfect and that there are scary aspects even within you. If you are able to be vulnerable and see yourself as not able to be the person you would prefer to be, that is a real strength. Judgment based on programmed social norms are quick, easy, and reduce the stress that might have come from being seen to oppose the ordained order. Avoiding the social stigma of going against the popular will is a great temptation. Anytime there is a presence of a tension between an easy way and a difficult way, then you have a sign of what feels right in opposition to a rational recognition of something not right. It is at this moment that the work begins. Human beings are not in lockstep with our animal origins. We retain the ability to be cooperative beyond our immediate family units. Cooperation extends beyond immediate benefit or some future reciprocity. Many people feel that help provided out into the general world is a general good that makes their life better as everyone else's life is better. In cooperation, we see everyone else as a part of a system in which everyone could be a part. It is a system that does not presume an eternal adversarial relationship between peoples and persons. Life is about begetting life. Species which survive into the present day are all involved with passing on genetic copies into the next generation. Procreation is an imperative across all life that continues to exist. Yet human beings are not completely tied to our genetic makeup. We are capable of choosing a different path, though not certain to do so. Many people choose to not send a copy of their genes into the future. Equally, we may choose to not engage in an eternal struggle against the enemy of the day. In the wild, the largest troop of our primitive relatives is about 200. Humans have multiple layers of organization that can number into the millions. There are many opportunities to divide the world into us versus them. As an old saying has it, I and my cousin against the world, I and my brother against my cousin. And yet, we choose not to. We just need a sufficient reason. We are capable of peace, but we are more known for our tribalism. Love is our sufficient reason, our superpower. It is the emotion by which we may overcome fear, anger, and hate. Love is the call to accept all, to see ourselves in another person before we see the difference. Using the in-group, out-group dichotomy against those who would benefit from divide and rule, we may begin to define everyone as part of the in-group. After all, we have ascertained that they are like us. And then we can see the difference as an added bonus, a new strength that we may add to our own. Love has a powerful ally in the form of another emotion, curiosity. When you meet someone, focus on that individual. Be curious as to what is their story. How did they come to this place? How did they come to be the person that they are? Listen carefully. Everyone has a story, and usually they want to be heard. Be curious. From the clues that you hear, search for their specialness. Feel joy at finding something interesting. Is there a synergy that may be formed between you? Curiosity is less about finding answers and more about being alive to the complexity of the world around us. In the late 18th century in England began a movement to ban slavery. One of the elements of that movement was a famous medallion of Wedgwood pottery. It was in the form of a supplicant African praying to God to release his chains. It was associated with the motto, "Am I not a man and a brother?" We should be curious as to who this person is and how did he come to be in this situation. Who really benefits from this situation? Do we? We only live in peace when truly every out has become an in, and every them has become us. May it be so. Amen. And now we have our hymn, closing hymn, De Chorus. Now, let's see. I have noticed in the past when we sing De Chorus, we get through about 4 words of the Spanish language. My apologies. Starting again. I have noticed in the past when we sing De Chorus and we go through the Spanish language verse, we get the first 4 words and then it fades off into oblivion. So I'm making a compromise. We are going to sing this. The verses we sing in English. The refrain we sing in Spanish. So, to get us used to that, I would like you to repeat after me, please. Y por eso los grandes, y por eso los grandes, amores de muchos colores, amores de muchos colores, me gustan a mí, y por eso los grandes amores de muchos colores me gustan a mí. And the words will be up there, I promise.
Try to say it all together, otherwise this is not going to go well.
Okay, so can we put...
Y por flores más colors of pennants and streamers and plumes and bandanas. All the colors, yes, the colors of people now taking their place in the sun. Y por eso los grandes amores de muchos colores me gustan a mí. All the colors, yes, the black and the white and the red and the brown and the yellow. All the colors of people who smile and shake hands and say hello. All the colors, yes, the colors of people who know that their freedom is won. Y por eso los grandes amores de muchos colores me gustan a mí.
And now again, we will recite together words as we extinguish this chalice and call our Zoom controller quickly back to the controls over there. Thank you again, Eric. Thank you very much. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Thank you, Paul. For everyone out there, there is someone who is not us. For everyone, there is a reason to exclude someone. For everyone, there is a time when the excluded person is oneself. Do hear the unvoiced plea. Am I not a man and a brother? Ain't I a woman? There is no reason to live in a world of conflict. Be curious. There is a whole universe of awe and wonder, if only we can see it. Amen.
And we will move to breakout rooms shortly.